Sheets and Fingers presents It's cold, so my fingers are dry. The state of play is embarrassing. Okay. When we're trying to do a comparison between two things, we want them to be set up as polar opposites. We can do this with off and on, polar opposites. Perfect polar opposites. We can go like this, north, south. Polar opposites. We have out. You get the point, right? This is very simple stuff, and this is grade school stuff, kindergarten stuff. Out, in, up, down. Simple. These are opposites. These are dichotomies. In politics and economics, someone decided on left and right, which is fine. These are polar opposites. Okay? Polar opposite means whatever's over here, not over here. Okay? Polar opposites. Left hand, right hand. They're both hands, but they're opposite one another. So let's go over some of these words. People don't seem to understand what these words mean. I guess they don't understand on purpose, or they've been deluded and they're ego victims and they can't overcome the fact that they've been lied to. So, communism. Where does communism go? Everybody will agree communism is on the left, right? Fascism. What is fascism? Fascism isn't the right. Fascism is the far right. Far right. Communism is just the left. Fascism for the far right. Okay? State capitalism. State-run capitalism. What is that? Well, that's fascism. Just another word for fascism. Then we have totalitarianism. This is considered to be the far left. Communism. Fascism, what is fascism? Fascism is the state, the public, the government owns the means of production, but the private sector, private people, the fascism is the control of the means of production, and the public, there's private ownership. So you have public control, private ownership, which is what state-run capitalism is. Communism is the means of production are owned and controlled by the government, by the public. The public and the government are synonymous. Socialism. Socialism is on the left. Same thing. Socialism is the government, the people, the public own and control the means of production. It's synonymous with communism, although some people will say that socialism is a lesser form of communism. But it's defined exactly the same. What about National Socialism? Well, National Socialism is the far right. The Nazis. The Nazis were National Socialists. They were fascists. Nazi is the National Socialist Workers' Party. That's what it means. Then we have capitalism. Where does capitalism go? people would say it's on the right. But then in China today, we have what's known as a mixed economy, where you have communism in certain parts, and you have capitalism in certain parts. That's the mixed economy. So you have state-run capitalism in communist China. So we have state-run capitalism over here, and we have capitalism over here, and we have socialism over here, and we have socialism over here. We got a big problem here. Someone's lying to us. Now, this is the state of play as it exists today. Capitalism is really fungible because everybody wants to define capitalism as being the latest boogeyman so they can demonize it, because this is what all of the control freaks, all of the authoritarians are terrified of capitalism, because capitalism to them is individual freedom. Because they love to misdefine what this word capitalism means, which we'll get to in a later video. This can be over here, it can be over here. It's just floats. We'll put it in the center just for this demonstration. Although probably center right would probably be more where people would place it. But people don't even see capitalism as an economic system. They see it as a pathology within an economic system coming from the left. Now, where does this state of play come from? Where does this nonsense, this bullshit come from? Well, it comes from the communists. The communists run the universities. They're the intellectuals of a society. They're the ones that say that socialism isn't that bad as they define it, because they misdefine it in order to mischaracterize it. And they're the ones that say that fascism is far right. And yet, we have National Socialism. The Nazis were National Socialists. They were fascists. So, what is going on here? Why do we have socialism over here and socialism over here? Why do we have capitalism over here and capitalism over here? This is supposed to be polar opposites. You tell me. What is the right? Everything is the far right. So what is the right then? Is the right socialism? Is the right capitalism? Now how can you have capitalism over here with a mixed economy? I'm waiting for an answer, because this is 100% bullshit. This is communist propaganda. This is the state of play as it exists today, where you have communism on the left, you have socialism being a lighter, friendlier form of communism, when these are actually quite synonymous with the way that people define things, the way the commies define things. These are synonymous. And then everything, it's not just the right, everything is the far right. I say put capitalism over here too, because they hate it. This is not the way that the world is. This is not the way that economics works. You have to have a dichotomy. So this is all crap. This is all 100% crap. The truth is that socialism is the left. Socialism is defined as the consumer is not the producer. That's what socialism is. And over here, I don't have a marker for it, but this would be individualism, because I want to show you that halfway, approximately, on all this doesn't exist today. They have blanked this out of the discussion. Because in reality, capitalism is the right of the left. Then comes, in the center of the left, is fascism. Then the left of the left is communism. That's how the left works. You have capitalism on the right, fascism in the center, and communism on the right, on the left. Sorry about that. This, to the commies in the university system, the commie so-called intellectuals, this doesn't exist. See, this is, they just take that out of there. Or they put socialism with communism. This is the state of play as it exists, where this is the left and this is the right. See much of reality that they've erased. So then they have the left, which is communism, and the right, which is fascism. This is what they've done. They don't like to use the word socialism, but socialism is going to be over here with communism. This is what they've done to us. They've lied to us. This is not the truth. This is the truth. This is the truth. The right is individualism. The consumer is the producer. The left is socialism. The consumer is not the producer. This is why people rail against these things, is because when you're not producing what you're consuming, you can be exploited. The people who are actually doing the producing can enslave you. They can exploit you. That's why the left has problems, regardless of whether it's capitalism, fascism, or communism, because you have an exploitative relationship. Now what's happening is what they're calling fascism capitalism, because they've erased it. They've erased it. You have the left, you have the right. This is what they've done. In fact, fascism is the far right, so I don't know what they were talking about with the right, and communism is the left. This is what they've done. They've erased, 60% of reality has been erased by the communist intelligentsia on our university system to move people this way. Now, what has happened is what people are calling, people are calling what is in fact fascism, they're calling it capitalism because they're trying to demonize it. They're trying to demonize capitalism by calling it fascism, and it's not. America has a fascist economy. We do not have a capitalist economy in America. We have a fascist economy in America. Just ask a business owner who has to pay the minimum wage. Okay, we have a fascist economy. But the communists are calling our economy capitalist. They're doing that because they want us to move left. Because moving one step left, even though we're a fascist economy means we would become then a communist economy. And that's exactly what they want. And it's embarrassing. This is reality, socialism, and this is the way that they make it. This is the way you want it to think it to be, where you have left, and then you have right. See, so they have erased all of this, all of the truth of what the economic spectrum actually looks like, to pigeonhole you into this. Okay, because if you're on the right and you use the word fascist, you are a moron. Because fascism is the center of the left. Just like that. Capitalism is the right, fascism is the center, communism is the left. Over here, it's a completely different economic system. And the dividing line between the two is the invisible hand starts to engage in here, and that's when individualism becomes socialism. So, the state of play, if you believe the state of play as it exists today, you're a fool. It's embarrassing.